What was the Battle of Fort Wilson, and how did its namesake influence the ratification of the United States Constitution? Hi Founder fans, Jason here, and today's founder is James Wilson. Now, James Wilson is a fascinating character. In fact, I'm surprised I haven't made a video about him yet, because his life had several fun events to discuss, so let's get into it. James Wilson was born in Scotland, and he attended university in Great Britain, but he decided to not graduate and instead leave and move to Philadelphia. It was something to do. There, he studied law under John Dickinson, who, much like Wilson, would go on to be an extraordinarily important founder of the United States. Wilson made his name as a man of the law in Philadelphia and was elected to the Continental Congress. And while there, he was an early supporter of independence, and he did sign the Declaration of Independence, which, you know, makes his name live on forever on that document. Anyway, James continued to pursue the rule of law. He was very much attached to letting the laws rule the country. And therefore, he ended up defending Loyalists in several court cases in Philadelphia. He thought they did not commit the crimes they were accused of, and they should not have had their property taken. Now, this didn't go over well with everyone, especially soldiers, rank-and-file soldiers, who were off duty and were attending a tavern in Philadelphia and got nice and toasty drunk. And they decided to say, hey, why don't we go down to James Wilson's house and kick in his door and get him? So they had a few more drinks and did this. And they went and attacked this person who, again, they were conveniently ignoring that he signed the Declaration of Independence that they were fighting for, I should say. So they went to his house and tried to kick it in. Wilson barricaded him and his family and several friends in the house, and one of his friends was even firing from upstairs, and they tried to come in and kick in his door, and in the ensuing battle, 6 people were killed in the middle of Philadelphia between Revolutionary War soldiers and a signer of the Declaration of Independence. Now, everything was resolved because Joseph Reed showed up, and Joseph Reed was then called the President of Pennsylvania, but what we would recognize today as Governor of Pennsylvania. And as the sitting governor of Pennsylvania, he called in the militia and brought them in and got rid of this mob who was attacking James Wilson, despite the fact that James Wilson was one of his top political opponents and top rivals politically within the state of Pennsylvania. It still, as governor, was his duty to quell this riot and save a fellow congressman. We're very fortunate because about 10 years after this, the Continental Congress is called together, and James Wilson, with his brilliant legal mind, is elected to attend the Constitutional Convention. And he was very important to the convention, fairly outspoken, helped write some of the drafts of the Constitution, and most notably about his time there is Wilson was very against the Electoral College. He was an elitist, and he thought elites should rule the country, but he thought that the President of the United States should be elected directly by the people, and he pursued this throughout the Constitutional Convention, though he did not succeed in that attempt and was still satisfied with the document and signed the Constitution. So James Wilson signed both the Declaration of Independence and the United States Constitution. A very important person. Soon after this, the new government takes place, and one of the original members of the United States Supreme Court in the J Court was chosen by Washington to be James Wilson. Of course, that's who we're talking about today. So James Wilson was an inaugural Associate Justice of the United States Supreme Court. He would continue here for the next 9 years, the rest of his life, but he invested a little bit in some land speculation, and when the Panic of 1794 struck and sunk a lot of people's fortunes, James Wilson was one of these people, and he lost enough money to be sent to debtor's prison while he was sitting on the Supreme Court of the United States of America. Yes, he sat in debtor's prison while he was on the Supreme Court. Now, fortunately, his son was able to pay off his debts that put him there, and he got out, but he had more debt. So, while he's sitting on the United States Supreme Court, James Wilson flees south to avoid other creditors. While he's on his way south, he gets malaria, has a stroke, and dies suddenly. And that is the tragically brief end of one of the most fascinating, high-level founding parents of the United States of America. Again, he signed probably the two major documents of the Revolution. And I hope I inspired you to look up a little bit more about James Wilson. As I said, fascinating character. I am unbelievably interested in his life. I hope you are too. Thank you for watching. If you want more videos like this, I put out 4 a week. Plus on Wednesdays at 8:15, we have a great live video where we discuss the articles I wrote in the past week. So hit like, hit subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you know when we have the live videos and you can join the chat with us. Thank you again, and I will be back with another founder on Monday.